Welcome to AEHelp.com's IELTS test preparation videos. You will now see Rihanna score a perfect band 9 for her performance on the IELTS speaking interview. After each part, you too will get a chance to practice for that perfect band 9 score with me. Now, let's begin. Do you want to maximize your IELTS band scores and go from a band 6 to a 7, 8, or even a band 9? Visit and join our premium IELTS package at aehelp.com to get the latest videos, practice exams, and tips for success. Visit and join now. Welcome to the speaking portion of the IELTS exam. My name is Adrian. I will be your examiner for this part of the test. I'm going to record this for marking purposes, and I will give you instructions for each of the 3 parts. May I see your identification?
Yes, sure. Here is my passport that I registered with. Please take a look.
Thank you. And what is your full name?
My first name is Rihanna, and my surname is Aliva. Please call me by my first name, Rihanna.
Okay, Rihanna. Here is your identification back. For part 1, I will ask you a couple of questions to get to know you better and some questions on a general topic. Where do you live?
I live in a 2-bedroom apartment on the north side of the capital city of Kazakhstan, Nur-Sultan.
What is your favorite food?
I love manti. It is a type of dumpling stuffed with lamb or beef, and it is just so good to eat when I'm feeling hungry. In fact, I just had a few yesterday for lunch.
Let's talk about sleep. How many hours do you sleep in a day?
I get about 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day, usually from 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. I find this amount is the right amount to give me a full charge for the next day.
Where do you like to sleep?
Oh, definitely in my own bed. It is so comfortable and spacious. Whenever I sleep on my sofa or elsewhere, I just don't feel as rested.
When do you go to bed and why?
Oh, as I had just said a moment ago, I usually get to bed around 11 at night. However, on the weekends, if I'm hanging out with friends, I go later midnight or 1 a.m. I was watching a late movie with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and I remember I was up quite late.
What helps you to sleep better?
When I get fresh air and exercise and eat some good food, I sleep like a baby. I went for a big hike in the forest last Tuesday, and when I hit the hay, I was out like a light.
How do you feel when you do not get enough sleep?
Like most people, I feel quite grumpy. When I'm low on sleep, I get cranky and I'm irritable. My attention span is low and I tend to snap at people. So it's definitely better for me to get a full night's rest.
Have you ever had difficulty sleeping, and if yes, why?
Yes, I have. I've especially had difficulty getting shut-eye when I have some important and stressful event the next day, such as this IELTS exam. My mind tends to race thinking about the upcoming events of next day. Fortunately, if I go for a hike and exercise, that helps.
Now that you have seen what it takes to get that band 9 score in part 1, let's practice together. I will ask you the questions and you give me the answers. Use the subtitles as needed. Let's do this! Welcome to the speaking portion of the IELTS exam. My name is Adrian and I will be your examiner for this part of the test. The speaking test has 3 parts. I will give you instructions for each and I will record it for clerical purposes. The candidate number is 738512 and the test is currently being conducted in Vancouver at 13:30. Now we shall begin. For part 1, I will ask you some questions to get to know you better and some questions on a general topic. Firstly, may I see your identification? Thank you. What is your full name? Where do you live? What is your favorite food? Let's talk about sleep. How many hours do you sleep in a day? Where do you like to sleep? When do you go to bed and why? What helps you sleep better and why? How do you feel when you do not get enough sleep? Have you ever had difficulty sleeping? If yes, why? Before parts 2 and part 3, you can practice these IELTS speaking questions yourself with a native English speaking tutor. Book an IELTS practice interview on our website at aehelp.com. Simply create an account, log in, and click on Interview Speaking Practice. Now, let's watch the rest of this interview and the lesson. That's the end of part 1. Now we will continue with part 2. For part 2, there's a card in front of you. There's a note paper and a pencil. You will have 1 minute to look at the questions on the card. Think about your answers. You can take notes in that 1 minute if you wish. And then you will have 2 minutes to speak. I will tell you when to start, when to stop. Okay? Rihanna, your 1 minute preparation time begins now. Please turn over the card. Rihanna, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Recently I have been considering learning to play chess in order to improve my thinking and mind. Of course, chess is one of the oldest board games, which requires a lot of calculation and strategic planning. Basically, chess is where there are 2 players on a checkered board with 16 game pieces each. Every piece is moved according to precise rules. And the goal is to place the opponent's king under attack with no escape. I've been inspired by a new series on Netflix called Queen's Gambit, which is about a woman who is a brilliant chess player. Chess has been played by millions of people for over centuries, and it is commonly known as a game that develops critical thinking and foresight. An important element of the game is to predict the opponent's moves and always be 1 step ahead of them. I think this game can improve my pattern recognition and memory skills, Not to mention that it is also seems like a lot of fun and it is very competitive, and I like competition. In order to make this a reality, I simply need to go out and buy a nice chessboard and download a chess app on my phone. Of course, I will need to find some opponents to play with, either in person or online. Last but not least, I will need to read up on some basic strategy so that I have an idea of what I'm doing.
I will stop you there, Rihanna. Your time is up. Now that you've seen how a Band 9 candidate answers the cue card, the long part, let's do it together. I will ask you the question and you give the answer. Use the subtitles as needed. When you feel confident, try it on your own. That is the end of part 1. Now we will continue with part 2. For part 2, I will show you a card with some questions on it. You have some note paper there beside you, and you have your pen. Please do not touch the card. I will tell you when your 1 minute preparation time is up, and then you will have 2 minutes to speak. Of course, you can take notes in the 1 minute if you wish. Here's the card. Talk about an exercise you have thought of doing to help you think better. Your 1 minute preparation time begins now. Okay, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. Your 2 minutes is up. I will stop you there. I will now take back the card. Please put the note paper to the side, your pen down, and now we will continue with part 3. Please put the note paper and the question to the side, the pencil as well. For part 3, I will ask you a couple of questions related to your response and some questions connected to the topic of part 2. When do you plan to start playing chess?
Well, I have already been shopping around for a chessboard, and I started reading an ebook on chess strategy, so right away.
Does anyone among your family or friends play chess?
My mom plays chess, but I think she's too busy these days to teach me. Also, some of my cousins and friends play as well.
Let's talk more about exercising the mind. What are different ways that people keep their minds in good health?
As I said, like chess, strategy games are a good way to keep the mind fit. Also, learning languages has been shown to be very good for long mental health. And I think that physical exercise is also very important. After all, the brain is a biological machine.
Which of these is the most effective?
That's a tough question because all of these are very important. But I suppose if I could choose only one, it would be physical exercise. since an unhealthy body would definitely deteriorate the mind.
Some people believe that a healthy body leads to a healthy mind. Do you agree with this? Why or why not?
Yes, as I have just mentioned, this is very true. The brain requires a lot of blood and nutrients to function well. I've read that in certain situations, like exams, the brain can use up about 60% of the metabolic energy produced by the body, which is incredible considering that it only makes up around 2% of our body weight.
Is this always true?
Yes, I think this will always hold true. Like people who drink alcohol and use drugs, all eventually feel the negative effects on their mind's function.
What improvements in the education system could improve the thinking of students?
I think that a greater emphasis on critical thinking instead of rote memory would be a big positive for school curricula.
Can you elaborate on that?
Certainly, I think that many school lessons still focus too much on memorizing historical and scientific facts, like the name of the third prime minister, rather than focusing on rational thinking, such as understanding the best way to evaluate the future of a stock price.
Let's discuss effective learning. What are the most important steps needed to make sure students learn effectively?
I think that systematic assessment and feedback are very important to optimize the learning of students.
Why are these so important?
These are important to keep track of students' abilities and development, as well as to identify areas that need improvement.
Can you give an example of this?
Yes. While studying for IELTS, I did one full practice exam each week, and I always spent a few hours identifying and learning from my mistakes. This way, I learned that I need to pay attention to verb tense in my writing.
How has technology helped increase the efficiency of learning?
There are a plethora of ways that modern tech has improved learning. The internet has given a wealth of resources to both teachers and students, which simply wasn't nearly as accessible in the past.
Which kinds of technology will make a big difference in education and learning in the future?
I think that virtual reality and artificial intelligence will make a great impact on future learning. I think that this will allow students to be even more engaged with these subjects and therefore gain more knowledge faster.
That's the end of part 3. That concludes the speaking portion of the IELTS exam. You will have your mark online available in a couple days, Ryan, and your official mark with the other sections in about 2 weeks. Have a great rest of your day, and do remember to take your passport with you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
You have now seen a complete Band 9 IELTS speaking interview. Let's practice part 3 together. You're doing great. Keep it up. Part 3. For this part, I will ask you a question in relation to your response in part 2, and I will ask you some questions connected to the topic of part 2. When do you plan to start doing this kind of mind exercise? Let's talk more about exercising the mind. What are different ways that people keep their minds in good health? Which of these is the most effective? Some people believe that a healthy body leads to a healthy mind. Do you agree with this? Why or why not? Is this always true? What improvements in the education system could improve the thinking of students? Can you elaborate? Let's discuss effective learning. What are the most important steps needed to make sure students learn effectively? Why are these so important? Can you give examples? How has technology helped increase the efficiency of learning? Which kinds of technology will make a big difference in education and learning in the future? That is the end of part 3, and that concludes the speaking portion of the IELTS exam. You will see your marks online in about 3 days' time, and you will have your official certificate with all of the other sections on it in about 2 weeks in the mail. Have a great rest of your day, and do remember your identification. Thank you. Bye-bye. Rihanna is a very strong IELTS candidate, and she would certainly get a perfect Band 9 for her performance on this speaking interview, meaning that she is an expert user of the English language. This doesn't just simply mean that she has vocabulary and grammar approximately that of a native English speaker. In fact, it's more than that. It means that she's able to express even complex ideas very clearly, with detail and great fluency. Allow me to explain this in further detail. In part 1, Rihanna begins by showing lots of confidence. She is oozing a positive attitude. She is very fluent right off the bat, with a broad range of vocabulary to express her ideas precisely. While talking about sleep, she uses natural expressions like "to give me a full charge for the day" or "sleep like a baby." It's this kind of quick, clever language that gets those high band scores. Furthermore, Rihanna has very strong connections among her ideas, making her communication comprehensive. She's constantly relating among her answers. She says, "as I have mentioned before." As well, she always emphasizes her explanations by giving clear examples. Like the example, I was watching a movie with my friend late last night. Her examples are smooth and integrated. She doesn't use the expressions for example or for instance. Rather, she just gives the example, making it seamless and not giving an opportunity for the examiner to interrupt her with another question. It's this kind of clever and clear communication that leads to a perfect Band 9 score. For part 2, the cue card, the long answer, Rihanna makes an excellent choice. She chooses the topic chess to discuss an activity which she has been doing to enhance her mind. Likely, she thought about a few different ideas before settling on the game of chess. Then, while giving her answer, she pays a lot of attention to having a structured response, describing first the game of chess, the rules of chess, and then explaining how this game helps to enhance her mind, while giving real-world explanations and examples. It's this type of structured, fluent, and detailed response that gets that perfect Band 9 score. Last but not least, Rihanna in part 3 continues to show excellence in her speaking, all the way until her very last answer. She uses incredible vocabulary and natural expressions, like an unhealthy body will certainly deteriorate the mind, or the brain is a biological machine. In addition, her answers are complex and detailed in nature. For instance, when she says, "While I was studying for this IELTS exam, I identified my mistakes and learned from these. I realized that I made verb tense errors in my writing." It's this level of accuracy, complexity, and confidence that will lead you to a perfect score. Make sure to watch our videos, practice for your next IELTS exam using our websites, and you too can get this incredible score. Good luck on your next IELTS test. Subscribe to our channel. Click over here. Watch another video. Click right up here. And click our IELTS Hero to join our premium package and get access to all of our videos, practice exams, and a fully interactive course.